Michael, this is one of the highlights of my life right here, this photograph. I know I look very serious, but here I am sitting in St. Petersburg, Russia, in front of the Leningrad Codex, the famed Leningrad Codex. During my travels for about a 6 or 7 months period, I had the opportunity, Michael, to examine not only the Leningrad Codex, but the Aleppo Codex, the Damascus Crown, and Sassoon 1053. The 6 key manuscripts of the Tanakh. There are 6 key manuscripts. There's 2 I haven't examined yet. One of them I was hoping to examine this spring, but then COVID-19 hit, and I wasn't able to do it. That's the one in the British Library, Oriental 4445. The 6th manuscript, it's unknown exactly where it is, so I don't know that I'll ever be able to. I'm not saying this to brag. Quite the contrary. I'm humbled that I am currently the only living person, as far as I know, only living scholar for sure, to have studied and examined directly and physically 4 of the 6 surviving key manuscripts of the Tanakh. Now, there are scholars who have examined 3 of them, but nobody else, no, scholars who have examined 2 of them. I don't know of any other scholars who have examined 3, let alone 4.
That's incredible. That is the manuscript
That's
itself,
the
sitting
Codex.
right there in front of you,
right.
that you don't get to see. And
Michael, I went to St. Petersburg, Russia, and they told me, don't let anyone think they can come because you came and saw it. Anybody else who comes, we won't let them see it. It's a very rare thing for us to let anyone see it. I met with one woman who had been coming to the library for 10 years every summer. And I asked, have you seen the Leningrad Codex? She said, no, they'll never let me see it. And I thought, I'm not going to get to see it. I went there to see other things as well. So it wasn't the only thing I was there for. But in the second to last day, they brought it out and they let me spend 5 hours examining it with a microscope. These 4 manuscripts I just talked about, the Leningrad Codex, Aleppo Codex, Damascus Crown, Sassoon 1053, I examined them with a microscope using ultraviolet and infrared as well as visible light. Just to be able to examine them with this microscope, Michael, is a miracle. I was at this conference in Oxford at the workshop, and I was explaining to one of the professors there what I was trying to research, and she said, "Oh, you should ask this person in Berlin. She's examined this Torah scroll at the State Library of Berlin." So I write to the woman, and she says, "Well, we examined it, but not what you're asking about. You're asking about something very specific." She said, "Let's write a proposal and see if they'll let us come and examine it." I couldn't believe it. If I had to pay for this through my ministry, we couldn't afford to have this type of research done. The woman brought in a $50,000 what's called X-ray fluorescence device. It was operated by somebody who's authorized to work in nuclear power plants because it's putting out X-rays. It's radiation. He's a radiation specialist. Or radiation, security safety specialist. So while we're examining this, she shows me there's this other tool that doesn't cost $50,000. It's much simpler. You could stick it in your pocket, and you can examine things. Basically, it's a microscope that has ultraviolet and infrared. I said, okay, but I need this little piece that attaches to it. Where can I buy that? She said, you can't buy that. I said, where do I get it? She says, if I deem you worthy, I'll give you one. She designed it herself. I was deemed worthy in the end. And I was able to then travel all over Europe and use this device. I want to show you some examples of things. And again, this is why it's so important to study the manuscript directly if you can. So this is the Leningrad Codex. I didn't take this photo. This is a photo that's published online. It's a photo that was taken in the 1990s. And here we have, on the second line, the second word from the right, it says Yehovah. And it looks like it has the full vowels. Michael, I went through every single instance in the Leningrad Codex, in the Aleppo Codex, in Sassoon 1053. I didn't go through everyone in the Damascus Crown because there's too many, but I went through a couple dozen in the Damascus Crown, and I examined them under the microscope. In this case, I didn't even need the microscope. We take out that page from the Codex, of the Leningrad Codex. You saw it was a stack of pages, right? But you have to they're actually in little folders called quires. In this case, the quires were originally sewn together. They've now been disassembled by and large. So we take out that section, and I immediately see that dot, which I thought might be a cholam. I wasn't sure. I put this with a question mark. That dot only appears on this photograph, not in real life.
Really?
Yeah.
Only on the photograph.
The photograph from the 1990s had some piece of schmutz on it. Maybe it was on the lens of the camera. I have no idea. I take this out and I don't understand. I'm looking at this and there's nothing there. Now, in other instances, I look at the dot and I say, hey, that's not a dot of ink. That's a freckle on the animal. In this case, there wasn't even a freckle on the animal. Not only is it not ink, there's actually nothing there. That is a phantom dot over God's name. And you would think I'd be upset because I'm trying to verify that God's name is Yehovah, and here it's not. Here it's missing the vowel. I was so happy because we'd found truth. And there was another 30 or 40 places where it did have the full vowels. Yehovah, and that's verified.